Hey nerd, Dynasty back with our third installment of Rookie Wide Receivers, where we finally talk about the third wide receiver of the top three.
And we talk a good Washington, maybe a not so good Washington.
Yeah, and Bud or Bub, one of the two. We'll cover them.
Don't Google it. Don't Google it.
Ready, set, hut, hut. Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss Dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Rich Dotson. He's Matt O'Hara.
Hey, how's it going?
He's Garret Price.
You said my thing.
I sure did.
What?
You say hey.
I was shooketh.
I know.
I had no time to prepare for this.
I messed with you, man. Sorry.
He's still Garret Price. And he's Jared Wackerly.
Nailed it.
Was that?
Was that?
We're back with our third episode of the rookie wide receiver breakdowns. We
Yeah,
have
it is.
4 total to go. This is one of those 4, so 25% of the way there. Today and tomorrow's show, I feel are...
No, we're not. Wait, hold on.
We have 2 of the 6 done.
Yes.
So we're a third of the way done.
Yeah, no,
Back
but
to this.
after today's show, this is one of 4.
Okay,
which
so
is 25%.
after this one, we'll be
We'll be a half.
half done.
Listen here, Albert Einstein, in your tough mathematics. I'm sorry I'm not here trying to break down equations on the chalkboard. I'm just here to talk rookie wide receivers.
Well, we just want to make sure you're talking correctly.
I've already
You didn't have to say numbers. You chose to.
I've already forgot the equation. I don't even know what number this is. Wasn't even paying attention. It's
3.
Well, we're back talking rookie wide receivers.
3 of 6.
This is episode 3 of 6. I feel like today and tomorrow's episode are pretty good episodes. There's a lot of players here that I'm excited to talk about. Kind of makes you more like the last 2 episodes, like those back end receivers were a lot of do butter. These guys intrigue me and are on my board, and I hope to get some shares of each one of these guys, all except for 2. Those 2 happen to be in this episode. Next week's episode, I'll take one of every of those guys.
You should. That was supposed to be a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Idiot.
Okay, stick around for another 40 minutes to find out. Can't wait to tell you who it is.
Nailed it.
Hey, Dynasty Nerds, it's time to take your Dynasty game to the next level with FFPC's Dynasty Startup Leagues. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just getting started, FFPC has a league for you, with entry fees ranging from $100 up to $5,000. Choose from a variety of formats, including Superflex, Best Ball Superflex, Triflex, 1QB, and Standard. With weekly lineups, waivers, trades, head-to-head matchups, and playoffs, FFPC's fully managed leagues provide the ultimate dynasty experience. Most importantly, the leagues are here to stay. FFPC has never had a dynasty league fold. They manage the entire commissioner experience from buy-in management to fulfilling your orphans. FFPC is perfect place to expand your dynasty league portfolio. And here's the best part. As a Dynasty Nerds listener, you can get $25 off any entry fee as a new member when you use the promo code NERDS. Head over to myffpc.com now to draft your team, manage your roster, and dominate your league with FFPC. That's myffpc.com. Promo code NERDS for $25 off any entry fee for new members. FFPC, where dynasty dreams become a reality.
All right.
So, how about we just dive in, because we all know there's a big 3 at receivers.
There are,
and
yeah.
I know, and I'm excited to see where you come out. And the first guy we're going to talk about, we just did a show with Matt Harmon. If you check out our YouTube channel, the Dynasty Nerds YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. We're doing a lot of good interviews. We had Matt Harmon on. If you don't know him, of Yahoo and Reception Perception, he is the wide receiver guru behind Matt O'Hara, and I loved his.
If your
top
name
3
is
as
Matt,
well.
you know receivers.
So let's kick it off. There's a lot to talk about here and unpack.
Yeah, no doubt, man. This is the guy I've watched the absolute most tape on out of anyone so far.
Ooh.
Because I just wanted to make sure
You're
I had
dialed
it.
in.
I wanted to make sure I had it right, But Odunze, Washington wide receiver, 6'2" and 7/8 inches, 212 pounds, 9 1/4 inch hands, 32 1/4 inch arms, 76 3/4 inch wingspan. He is 21 years old. He'll be 22 in June. He ran a 4.45 in the 40-yard dash. He had a 1.52 10-yard split, a 4.03 20-yard shuttle, a 6.88 3-cone, which is whoo.
Especially at that size.
That is nice. Broad jump of 124 inches, 39-inch vertical. Last year in 15 games, he had 92 receptions, 1,640 yards receiving, 13 touchdowns, 2 rush attempts, 37 yards, and an additional rushing touchdown.
Yeah, you mentioned when you read those stats, like the numbers he put up at the combine at his size make you go, whoa.
Ooh.
And so does his tape. This is a player that I've been talking about for quite a while. And I've said, I've watched so much of Odunze during the college years. Like, this guy's top tier. Like, I don't know how everybody's not screaming this guy's name. He's elite to me. And now that I finally got to actually study the player and watch his tape, outside of all the casual tape and a little bit before getting ready for our interview with Matt Harmon.
Sure.
But the deep dive is I came away even more impressed than my initial impression. So this is somebody to me that has a chance to be a wide receiver 1. And let me write that out a little bit better. When I say wide receiver 1, I'm not even talking wide receiver 1 like, oh, he could be a top 12 wide receiver. That's, if you can't see that, then I don't know what you're watching. He has a chance to be wide receiver 1 overall. Like, not every single year, but he has a chance to produce 1 year as wide receiver 1 overall. He is that talented. There's a big, Michael Penix is a great quarterback. I love his ball placement, but when, and Matt Harmon said the same thing. When he's on the field, he's the best player on the field. Odunze. He wins at so many different levels on the field. A guy of his size, his route running ability, just like Marvin Harrison Jr., elite. Bail getting out of his breaks, elite. When it comes to contested catches,
nuts.
Nobody does it better. And
literally, give him the numbers.
Yeah, Pro Football Focus had it as Odunze is going back, they charted it since 2014. So over the last 10 years, nobody has done better in a contested catch situation than Odunze. And it's not even close. His contested catch rate is at 75% win rate. The second best since they've been charting it is Drake London at like 66.5. I think I actually wrote
so that must mean Garrett gave him a 7.
65.4.
On his nerd score, right?
I hate you so much. You got a 9.
Rome was a sprinter in high school, so his speed shows up on tape. His ball skills, his body control, the way he can get out of his breaks and show that he can get separation. He is a fantastic route runner.
Yeah, he's
a big guy.
He's kind of he's deceiving, right? I don't think he's like as cut and twitchy as a guy like Malik, right?
Correct.
He's a little smoother of a route runner, not as bursty and kind of.
One's heavy metal, one's smooth jazz. They're just different.
They are different. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure people are getting a picture painted, right?
Yeah, Odunze's way closer to Marvin Harrison Jr. Than like a neighbor's caliber. Like they're talking about two different. Like Odunze's a true X receiver. Go out there and win. Like he's going to win on the field. It doesn't matter what's going on. You throw the ball up to him, he's going to come down with it. Or at least there's a 75% chance he will come down with it. So
facts don't lie.
So neighbors are somebody you just want to get the ball in his hands. Like he's elite with the ball in his hands after the catch. Where Odunze and Marvin Harrison Jr., they're fine. They're not bad.
Yeah, they're okay at that.
But they're okay.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? They win. The big thing with them is they're going to come down with the ball and they're going to catch the ball. Like they're a true number 1 receiver. All 3 of these guys are going to go top 10 NFL draft. Any other year, like for most years, like these guys would be wide receiver 1 overall in their class. Mm-hmm. Like if you watch I encourage you to watch that YouTube video with Matt Harmon because I said, hey, there's so much variance going on in the community where like right now the hot thing is to say Malik Neighbors is wide receiver 1 overall for a lot of people. And I was like, Matt, you're the guru. I want to hear your take, and I want you to put them in order for me because I have it where Marvin Harrison Jr. is in a tier by himself. He's a clear number 1. And I was like, I personally have Odunze and Neighbors like neck and neck. Like I can go either way with those guys. And then Harmon's answer was pretty spot on to what I said. I encourage everybody to go watch the video and see exactly what he says. But I was very encouraged because when you hear a guy like Matt, who is literally renowned throughout the industry for his wide receiver work, like renowned, he's considered the best in the business. For him to be exactly on line for how I feel and how I watch the tape, it's always comforting. When you have people that you respect in the industry. So Rome for me is somebody that's going to come out, dominate on all facets of the field. I know Matt has a major concern with Odunze. We'll get there in a second.
No, yeah, I do. Go ahead.
It's definitely his yards after catch, and what Matt's about to tell you is probably his 2 flaws in the game. But I'm not nearly as worried as Matt may be.
So yeah, the big thing that I saw was, I think there was times where He struggled against press coverage. He just wasn't able to separate and detach from defensive backs and kind of get into his route. I thought at times they were able to affect him even in his route running. They get hands on him. He wasn't able to effectively get into his route in time to be in the play. It was almost like they had taken him out of the play effectively right at the line of scrimmage, which, I mean, if you're going to be a dominant wide receiver at the NFL level, you can't have that hole in your game because you're just going to get pressed over and over again. And if you want examples of it, go and look at Oregon. They pressed the heck out of him. Even Arizona pressed him, and they were bailing out into zones afterwards. But they wanted to get hands on him because they knew that was their best chance of affecting him. And listen, you're not going to be able to press a guy every single play ever, right? So it's not going to be an every down thing. But if they want to take him out of a play, I think defensive coordinators are going to be able to until he's able to get over that hump and kind of learn how to do that, learn how to use his hands better at the line of scrimmage, which I think is something that he really, that's it. That's the key for me. If he learns to fight defenders off, he'll be able to just shed and swim and do all those kind of little things to get past guys, and he'll be fine. But it is a major concern for me right now.
And that was going to be the big thing that I was going to say. I don't have any concerns with his release. Like, I actually have a very good score for him with his release, with his feet. Like, his feet are excellent. Feet, it's tough to teach feet at that point. Hands is not difficult to teach.
And it's weird because in my brain, I'm trying to go through all the scenario. I'm like, is this guy just not tough? But you see him block, and he's pushing guys all around. He's moving.
The effort level on his blocking is like, whatever team he goes to, that's like a small boost to their running back.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And that's what he needs to take, that mentality to defensive backs when he's getting off the line and just shedding them or dictating to them. You know what I mean? Like with his releases, hey, I'm doing this. You have to have a couple of different kind of releases, an inside release, an outside release that go, looks like an outside release, but it's actually an inside release, just to keep these guys off balance. And I think he's got all the talent to do it. I just haven't seen enough of it to feel real comfortable with that part of his game. And that's the major concern. And that's the thing that's holding me back from saying this guy is going to be an elite prospect, a guy that can be the number one wide receiver, because he's got everything else. But if he gets this, I think he can definitely be that. But without it, he's a guy that is, I don't want to call him a one-trick pony because he's not. He's got lots of tricks. But he can be taken out of a game plan by certain defensive coordinators on any given week. If there's a who's the best guy? If there's a Jalen Ramsey's on the other side just pressing all day long on a guy, he could totally wipe him out of any given week.
I understand that. I think his feet are so good that I'm not overly concerned. I think you can learn a couple hand fighting techniques and overcome that pretty quickly. So I'm not overly concerned with that. And he's the type of player too that, even though he profiles as an X, and I think that's where he'll play for the most part at the NFL level, I have no worries that they could move him anywhere in the offense if they wanted to, and he would be effective.
Well, I mean, in Washington, they moved him around. They stacked him because I think they even knew that he struggled at times. He was off the line behind another player at times, which is not something you typically see from a guy that's 6'3", 212 pounds, because you just don't need to. If you have a good solid release and you can get off that jam, you're not going to need to be hidden off the line of scrimmage or behind a guy. Yeah. So that was another little thing that kind of, I think, made me think and maybe made me look at that a little bit with a little bit more of a under a microscope, say, so to speak.
I mean, you have to nitpick all these guys.
You have to.
I mean, that's what we do this whole show. Like all these, we nitpick, but even more so with these top guys when they dominate and they do everything else so well. You're like, all right, what's your war? And that's why, because my note on here for his weakness was like, yeah, he struggles off the line against press coverage more than you would like. But I'm with Garrett. Like it wasn't like as concerning to me. I'm like, oh, that's something he can work on, and he'll probably overcome that.
All that being said, I have him as my second guy, and he's above Malik Neighbors by the thinnest of margins, but he's there. He's above him. And if he was able to, if I didn't see what I saw about the press coverage, he would be closer to a Marvin Harrison. So, I mean, he has a ton of talent. And just that one thing,
Yeah, what is there anything that, like, you talked a lot about the negatives, like what's your favorite thing about
Rome
Odunze.
I mean, you nailed it. On everything else, it's his catch point, attacking the ball, all that kind of stuff.
Late hands.
There's so much that he does that looks like a professional wide receiver already, between the route running and the ability to just kind of separate at the second level, all that kind of good stuff. That you guys already kind of talked about, so I don't want to nail it down too much, but. Yeah.
I was just I'm
trying to
look to catch, and that's fine. And that's your favorite. It should be, because that's where he dominated so much. Garrett, you got anything else you want on there?
Yeah, just overall, he is. There are not many prospects that I've seen overall that look as NFL ready as Odunze looks, and I think that's the big thing for me is you can tell all of the time that he put into his craft. And there's other guys, and we'll even get to some where you have questions on some of that kind of stuff. But he's a guy where you look at all of the things that he does, and he does well. Those aren't just things that happen. Speed sometimes just happens. Being 6'3" just happens. Like, there are other things that just you either have it or you don't. But then there's these nuanced things that you do that Rome Odunze does so well that you can just tell all of the reps and the effort.
He's almost got like a Keenan Allen.
Yes, he's been my comp.
Feel to him. Has he?
Yeah, he's been my comp. He's a faster Keenan Allen.
He's faster for sure.
Yep.
But he's got the same similar size and all that kind of good stuff.
And just a smooth operator. It's never like, it's more sudden than it looks.
Right.
Because it doesn't feel that sudden.
It's like effortless movement.
It is.
Compared to like herky-jerky explosion in and out
Kadarius Toney kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, so he's I love that you said that, because that was the guy that I'd been talking about for a while. He's a faster Keenan Allen. Like, that's who he really reminds me of.
He brings all that skill set at 6'3", 212, which is what same thing with like he's like Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, he brings that skill set.
We haven't had guys that have come out that are like the old school prototypical size guys like we are.
So much bigger
year
class
in a long time. It's been a while.
Yeah, obviously throw Marvin Harrison Jr. out of it, because he's in our tier by himself for all of us anyways. But like Malik Neighbors and Rome Odunze would have easily crushed every receiver last year that came out. Like,
easily.
These guys are
I think
like,
Jackson Smith and Jigbo wouldn't have been crazy far off.
Yeah, but Odunze's at another level as Jackson Smith and Jigbo. Definitely come off the injury that Jackson had, right? Not playing for a year. So,
but I agree.
The size that they do this is like an old school X receiver. They win, and they win all the time. And not only that, they're going to get the draft capital to back it up as well. I mean, Odunze might get the worst of it and put him
at 8 or 9.
Like, if he goes to the Bears, right? Like,
right.
He's on there with a Keenan Allen and a DJ Moore. But these are three guys that are high-level receivers. And it just – what drives me nuts about Odunze is, like, people just casually throw him to the back end of the, like, hey, man, if you have the 7th pick this year, you're getting Rome Odunze. It's like, shit, dude. Like, that's
sweet.
Like,
sweet value right there.
What an amazing value in Superflex. And we haven't even talked about Brock Bowers yet in these tight end premium leagues. Where definitely in some leagues where we started, there's 2 catches per tight end. We're like, we'll get there in 2 weeks, but where does Brock go? So, Jared, what do you have on top of Odunze here of elite prospect? And I know Matt has him as wide receiver 2. Garrett, you have him as wide receiver 2.
Barely, yep.
I have him and Neighbors as 2A and 2B. I still have Neighbors as like 2A. But they really are more equals than separators, I guess is the best. Like, I think
that's honestly what we would all probably say. It sounds like it was by splitting hairs with
It was
Matt
a
and
fraction of a point.
Yeah. And that's literally splitting hairs.
Yep.
So I have Odunze pretty firmly at 3, where I have Neighbors pretty firmly at 2 ahead of him. And I guess where I guess I have slight hesitations with Odunze, and I guess coming into tonight, it was reassuring in a way to hear Matt kind of echoing the same things that I was coming in here to like talk about. Was there are slight like separation concerns that I have with him when watching the tape. But other than that, I mean, I was talking to Garrett earlier today, like his across the board, every single category, it's like 7 or better. I think yards after catch and his game speed were the only like 2 things. I don't think he's like an overly fast player, but I mean, he's fast enough to get the job done. But
so what's your nerd score?
77.4. So that's good. and it's higher than Jackson Smith and Jigba was last year.
Who's that like equal out to from your past scores?
Treylon Burks was there, which is right around that area. Let's see. Henry Ruggs was in there.
Yeah, keep going.
All right, I'll give you mine because mine are a lot more glowing.
What was your that are good? Yeah.
You resorted it. Did you resort the
Oh, I resorted it by mine just now.
Yeah, like threw me off. That's
Go
why.
ahead, resort it by yours.
What was
I'll
your
resort
score?
it.
He had 77.4.
I had a 79.2.
Nice. I like yours better.
I had a 78.
But
so
Drake London was right in there.
0.1.
So
Okay.
I mean, I'm not trying to say like Rome Odunze isn't a first round pick or anything. I think he's top 20 pick. But yeah, there's just slight little separation concerns mixed with like the athleticism and I don't know, it's just like I think I got a little like N'Keal Harry vibes. I hate throwing that name out there.
You're just like comparing all these terms.
Yeah, you're really
I think N'Keal Harry didn't pan out for reasons that weren't, on the field or what we watched on the tape. So
I feel like I'm Daenerys' brother in Game of Thrones. And you're just pouring gold like you're Aquaman pouring gold all over my
Aquaman.
Well, I just
Which is accurate and not at all at the same time, which is awesome. For what it's worth, my all-time wide receivers from 4 through 8. These are who they are: Garrett Wilson, Rome Odunze, CeeDee Lamb, Malik Neighbors, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. So those are just pre-draft rankings for the Nerd Score of just specifically.
That's
my
4
rankings.
through 8.
That's 4 through 8 all time.
What's 1 through 2 3?
Marvin Harrison, Devontae Smith, Jamar Chase.
Nice.
So I have him neck and neck with someone in this class that we're going to talk about tomorrow. Can I say it?
Hide it. Wait.
No,
wait.
yeah, just wait.
Because I also have a very high score, and I'm stressed out about it.
And I know who we're going to talk about because I have so.
But he's like a
much
boom
to-
bust.
Yeah.
Yes,
cool.
he is.
Yeah.
Ultimate.
Lowercase boom.
So like if I were to rank
bust.
if I were to rank them or draft them, like I'd go with the safer guy, which would be Rome for me. So yeah,
Rome
maybe
is safe.
wide receiver 3.
Man, I'll say this. I feel like all 3 of these guys in the top of the draft are super safe. Like, I feel like the world is crashing down at their wide receiver 3s. And that's like their floor,
Oh yeah.
bar an injury.
Yeah, that would be.
But
yeah,
you're getting-
unless there's a screw in a foot somewhere, then
Yeah, you're
who
getting
knows what's gonna happen.
you're getting studs. You're getting wide receiver 1 studs. Jamar Chase is in trouble because, finishing every year as wide receiver 5, wide receiver 6. There's some new Cub Scouts joining the troops, and
5 and 6 becomes 8 or 9
and
pretty
guess what?
quickly.
And guess what? Garrett Wilson's got Aaron Rodgers now.
A couple
just
of these
saying.
wide receiver landing spots early though scare me.
Not seeing but Marvin to like Arizona.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there are
Aroused.
some that
Aroused.
are like
The Patriots would be a little
Giants. Yeah.
Giants.
But even now, like, dude, like Malik, like, it'd be great for like any quarterback that goes there. Well, he's not going there. They're taking a quarterback.
They should.
They're not taking a receiver. Vlad McConkey in a second. That's where they're gonna go. Guys, I gotta tell you about my friends at Underdog Fantasy. Right now, they have the pre-NFL Draft 2024 Best Ball is live on Underdog. Draft your favorite rookie sleepers you've discovered in the Dynasty Nerds film room. Play in $3 contests all the way up to $1,000 contest. Draft your team and never worry about setting a lineup. You need to get in on this action ASAP. Sign up at Underdog with the promo code NERDS. And Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100 for new members only. And yes, Dynasty Nerds is still giving new users a free Nerd Herd and Dynasty GM annual bundle membership with your deposit of $10 or more at Underdog by using that promo code NERDS. So you get all our tools, all access to the Nerd Herd by putting a $10 deposit down in there. Your Dynasty Nerds promo code will be sent by email within 48 hours of sign up. New members only. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. In New York, call 1-877-HOPE New York. In Tennessee, 1-800-889-9789. All right, who's next?
Moving
Go to the next
on.
Speaking of legends, we got all kinds of people's kids in this class. Marvin
Don't
Harrison
we?
Jr.
All right, up
We did Frank
next.
Gore Jr. in the running back.
Did.
Yeah. We got what's his name's brother?
What?
And-
Oh, yeah.
and son-
Chris
and
McCaffrey.
son of Ed,
Ed
Easy Ed.
McCaffrey.
Edith.
All right. Anyway, Brenden Rice. USC wide receiver, 6'2" and 3/8 inches, 208 pounds, 9 5/8 inch hands, 33-inch arms, 78-inch wingspan. He's 22 years old, just turned 22 in March. He ran a 4.5 in the 40, bested his dad.
Faster than dad.
Yeah, 1.55 in the 10-yard split. 119-inch broad jump, 13 bench press reps, 36.5-inch vertical. In 12 games last year at USC, he had 45 receptions, 791 yards receiving, 12 touchdowns, and nothing in the rushing column.
So for Rice, obviously you have the comparisons to the greatest receiver of all time.
Jerry Rice is his dad. We forgot to mention.
Yes,
right?
Jerry Rice. If you haven't put two and two together, it's not Ray Rice.
No,
it's Jerry Rice is his father. And he's bigger.
Yep.
He's faster. He's, all of these things. And so typically you would think, kind of like Marvin Harrison Jr., oh, he's bigger and faster stronger than his dad. Well, he's going to be great,
He's
right?
got to be better.
Let's pull back on that a little bit here.
It's got to be better, right?
Got to be better, right?
Dude, if you're talking that comparison, you're not pulling back on the range. You're just shooting a horse in the head.
Yeah, the horse died, ran off a cliff.
You pulled so back, you broke the horse's neck. You're like, whoa, Silver. Crap.
Dang it.
The donkeys.
Look, here's the thing. Brenden Rice, what it comes down to for me is there are some things that he does well.
Yep.
I think he plays with good physicality. I think he's got a decent catch radius. His route running is actually pretty solid for
clean.
A big guy.
Yeah, he's pretty clean.
But he struggles getting off the line, doesn't do a great job in his release. His contested catches were just okay for a guy of his size. I kind of wanted a little bit more.
I wanted a little bit more everything, I felt like.
A little bit more everything, yeah. But really what it came down to at the end all be all was even with the 4.5, he does not play with any real burst, any real speed.
Correct.
Everything's very slow. Everything's very mechanical. And I think DBs are going to not have a difficult time staying on him. And if he was if we had Jalen Polk's contested catch with this, I might be a little more interested because he is a good route runner.
Yeah.
But his contested catch was just fine. And so with that, I struggle to see where's that point that he's going to consistently win at the NFL level. And so for me, he didn't get a very favorable score. He got a 64.85 on the nerd score for me. So not the most complimentary. I don't think he's a terrible player, and that might be a tad harsh because I felt like he was a little better than the score indicates, but I still just struggle to see where he's going to win regularly at the NFL level.
And that's what it boils down to, right? I mean, I think he does some things well. I think he tracks the ball over his shoulder well. He can make some difficult, basket catches over his shoulder, that kind of thing. But I agree. He needed to be an above the rim, like grabbing balls off a guy's helmet or something, something that stood out. And there just wasn't anything that stood out as exceptional. There wasn't nothing that I could be like, this is what he's going to, how he's going to win. This is his path. This is his one big thing. So, I mean, he can make all the easy stuff. He catches the ball away from his frame. He's a professional fifth wide receiver on a team.
I think Brenden Rice is a very solid fourth receiver on an NFL team with the possibility to work his way up the good chart. I thought some good things I saw on tape was I thought he did a good job at times separating. I thought for a big guy, he made some pretty nice cuts.
And so he doesn't have a lot of explosion, right? But he's a good enough route runner that he can still separate some.
Tell his dad work with him.
He learns. Yeah, he learned some stuff there, which which was able to give him. Because he's fast enough. Like he's not a burner, but he's fast enough.
He's fast enough.
I saw enough, some really good sharp cuts there to help him get off there, get some separation. I thought obviously he scored a lot of touchdowns with Caleb Williams there consistently. I thought that he had pretty good body control, which is weird because I thought you're right, for a guy who's big like that, I figured he'd be better versus a contested catch, but he was really just more inconsistent than anything. Like he wasn't bad, but he wasn't great.
Bad,
and I thought you figured with his dad, he'd help him with that, work on some of that. I mean, I guess that wasn't Jerry's game either.
Sure. Jerry
was a master technician, but I feel like there are times watching man, maybe if he just positions his body a little bit better, he'd come out on top there. So his routes, which again, coming from you think he'd be around the game his whole life and having his dad, he'd be a better route runner than he is. Because
I think he's good. I think
He's okay. I think he's okay.
And that's the thing. Like, has he tapped out his potential already in college?
He just needs to, I feel like the best for him to be okay and like become like a wide receiver, he just needs to tighten everything up. He's just tighten everybody. Like you said, at this point, is that even a possibility?
Right.
Or is Brenden Rice who Brenden Rice is? And I would probably lean that way, but this is definitely a guy I'd grab at the back end of my draft on the upside.
And I think the tricky part too is, had he not been the son of Jerry Rice and playing football with Caleb Williams, I don't know that we're even discussing it.
I totally agree with that.
Fair.
I think he's just
Your dick.
Listen, I will say, because this was the second guy I watched for this show,
Yep.
and coming off of all the guys we did the week before, I was
Here we go again.
I was like, Brenden Rice is on my board. You know what I mean? And then like,
you can tell you're a Browns fan.
and then like, as we kept going through like these next two shows, I'm like, okay, this guy's better than Brenden. Oh, this guy's better. Okay, these two guys aren't. But like, I came away.
He's going to be a hard one to nail down.
He's probably my third lowest guy of all the guys we're going to talk about over the next 12 guys. But at the same time, I will say with him, he's on my board still.
I think he's on my board as well. It is going to be a tough road to hoe for him to become any sort of fantasy relevant guy.
He's just so inconsistent.
He just doesn't do anything exceptional. And I said that, in my initial breakdown, and that's what makes it hard. Like if he was exceptional at route running, okay, maybe that's how. But he's good enough, and he's fast enough, and he can separate enough.
Good
And he can, for the most part, he can, he makes all the catches, and sometimes he'll come down with a contested catch. But not enough that not enough that a quarterback is going to look for him in those situations consistently. You know what I mean? Every once in a while, and then if you're getting every once in a while those type of opportunities, and you're only catching them half the time, like it's not too long until you're just on the bench.
Jared, is there anything you want to chime in about the USC wide receiver Brenden Rice? Wow, great analysis.
He's off my board.
He's off your board.
Yeah, he's all the way down to 63.4. I mean, yeah, his route running, I thought his hands were really good. But, I mean, aside from that, I don't see how. He's a dime a dozen. Like, there's so many Brenden Rices that you can get.
So.
And I just don't see how he's ever going to be fantasy relevant.
Probably not.
All right, on to the next USC
on my board.
wide receiver.
Oh.
Tahj, is it Tajay or Tahj?
Tahj Washington.
Tahj Washington, wide receiver, USC, 5'9" 3/4", 174 pounds, 8 3/8 inch hands, smells like cabbage, 29 1/8 inch arms, 70-inch wingspan, 22 years old. He'll be 23 in May. He didn't run a lot of the stuff at the combine. He had a 122-inch broad jump, 35-inch vertical. At his pro day, he ran a 4.22 in the 20-yard shuttle and a 6.18 in his 3-cone, supposedly. Last year at USC, he had in 13 games, 59 receptions, 1,062 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 1 rush for 10 yards.
Okay, so Tahj Washington, USC.
Slot guy.
I didn't like his tape at all.
Slot guy.
He's not,
98% slot.
Yeah, not on my board. He doesn't have a big catch radius, small frame. Had trouble getting separation, getting in and out of his breaks. Doesn't look fast on film whatsoever. So I don't know what his 40 time would be, but his game speed I did not love. Press coverage, obviously for his size, was very easy to press him and kind of throw his whole game off there. I thought his burst was below subpar. I thought his explosion was subpar. Again, his overall game speed was so lackluster. And I mean,
that bad, huh? I didn't think it was
he ran
that.
a 4.58 in his pro day.
Okay.
Yeah, but
that makes sense.
And that's fair to see him there, but like it just, again, the game speed for me and the burst just weren't there. And I saw it in a lot of his separation. I mean,
quicker than fast, right? I mean, he's obviously not going to be a speed demon, but I think he's quicker than he is fast.
Which I think he played return kicks and stuff too, which is kind of crazy. I thought he win by like
I thought the freshman.
I will say I thought he changed up the speed pretty good running his routes at the time, showing a little variance there. I thought he did okay in contested catches, but like he's always in contested catch situation because he can't get separation. So for me, like if he's not winning there, like he's not going to win that level. I don't see any path for him as a fantasy success. I don't know how he makes an NFL roster, to be honest with you. Like, if he does, he's the wide receiver 5 on a team. Like, he gets drafted and he hangs on by that. But I wouldn't be surprised if he gets moved to the taxi squad. Like, he's like a 6th, 7th round pick, and maybe gets signed to the taxi squad. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't even get drafted. He probably will. But I mean, he's
your typical low A-dot guy. He's gonna operate.
I don't like him
right by the line of scrimmage. He doesn't get downfield and separate at all. So it comes down to the ball in his hands. Can he do anything? And any situation that a guy's 5'9", 174 pounds, and he's a low A-dot guy, he's going to need volume to be fantasy relevant at all.
And ain't coming.
Right. And so, whether or not he makes a team or not, I mean, obviously he's completely irrelevant if he doesn't make a team or get drafted. Like, if he doesn't get drafted, he's basically irrelevant, because it's going to be so hard for him to get on a team, climb a depth chart, get into a situation where he can get that volume that he needs in order to be fantasy relevant. So really, I mean, you called Brenden Rice a dime a dozen. He is a dime a dozen type of slot guy. If he gets on a team and they use any sort of draft capital on him, then who knows? Maybe he can work his way up a depth chart. But I'm with you. I don't think he does anything crazy special that he's going to garner that, or garnish.
Throw it next to my burger.
Throw a little
salt and pepper on there.
What do you guys think about orange garnishes?
I like oranges, so I don't mind them.
All right. Do you eat them when they?
Every time.
Yeah. Everyone looks at me like I'm so weird when I do it. I'm like,
really?
Do you put it in your mouth and do the smiley face every time?
I mean, I have. But look, I'm not consistent.
I usually give it to my kids.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
No,
I guess
I
I'm
usually give my kids my cake and eat the orange.
Got that one.
I like oranges.
So do I.
Yeah, I like Tahj Walker's tape significantly more than his, and that says a lot.
That does say a lot. Jeez.
I know it's Garrett's favorite player.
Jeez, wow.
Favorite player, Tahj Walker.
Are we all
I don't have a lot to add to Washington, unfortunately. I wanted to like one of these guys.
Yeah.
Because I was like, well, it's USC. They produce good wide receivers, and we've heard that Caleb Williams had a decent supporting cast, which clearly he didn't.
It's clear why Caleb Williams won the Heisman with Jordan Addison was there, and not when these guys were there.
Yeah.
Their best receiver is a true freshman.
Is a true freshman, yeah.
That dude.
Yeah, I heard that dude's
he's explosive.
He got hurt.
I saw a couple flashes of him. He looked really. What's his name? Is it
Zachariah Branch.
Zachariah, yeah, Branch.
That dude's fun to watch.
He looked good.
He's the one that did a lot of the kick returns and punt returns and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't want to keep belaboring the point. He's not that great.
Yeah, it always stinks when you get prospects that they're trying to chase their dreams and you guys sit here and do on them. But hey, it's part of our analysis.
We got to tell you who's
if
the
you're
worthwhile
trying to
dart
make it in the
throw?
NFL and you're listening to our podcast, breaking down Dynasty Fantasy Football, and you're worried about what we're saying, then you probably ain't gonna make it anyway.
True.
Probably not.
That's fair. Hey guys, let me tell you about our friends at Sleeper. Guess what? Our app the mini is live on Sleeper right now. The Dynasty GM.
pretty.
You can use the analyzer. You can use the trade calculator. And my favorite thing is the inbox, right? Where all your trades from all your Sleeper leagues are right there. You can actually push trades through the actual Sleeper app. And right now, we could be more excited to be partners with them. And right now, if you don't know, they are doing DFS. And I know how many people that play Dynasty play DFS as well. And right now, there's not a better place to play DFS than Sleeper. They're offering up to 100 times your entry, the highest payout in the whole DFS market right now. You can track your fantasy players and your Sleeper picks in real time. All you got to do is choose 2 to 8 of your favorite players from pregame, live in-game, or even across different sports. Pick more or less than the predicted stats, and only on Sleeper you can get up to 100 times your payout. You can share it with your friends and get rewarded together. Make sure you use that promo code NERD so our friends know that friends sent them their way. And get your deposit match and have a good time. You have all your DFS, all of your fantasy leagues, and now even a Dynasty GM in one spot. It is fully operational inside Sleeper right now. And then when you're a Nerd Herd member, you get that full access to that. And remember, you also want to download the Dynasty Nerds app because they're both in there. Check it out. Check our friend Sleeper. Check out the DFS. Use that promo code NERDS.
Get your whole estate. All right, next up, Johnny Wilson, Florida State wide receiver. He is a tree of a man. 6'6" and 3/8 inches, 231 yards, or 231 pounds, 10-inch hands, 35 and 3/8 inch arms, 84 and a half inch wingspan. 84 and a half inch wingspan.
That's a tree.
That is
He's
a tree.
So big.
23 years old. He just turned 23. 4.52 in the 40, 1.55 in the 10-yard split, 4.11 in the 20-yard shuttle, 128-inch broad jump, 37-inch vertical, which means he can dunk on a 12-foot hoop. I mean, this guy is giant.
Great numbers for a guy of his size.
He really is. Yeah, those are fantastic numbers for a tight end. In 10 games last year,
I agree.
in 10,
Me and Jared were texting her about like this guy's a tight end.
in 10
He's like,
games,
Jared's
has
like,
to be.
I like Johnny Wilson. I'm like, yeah, I like him. Like, there's no way he wins
As
as
a
a wide
baller.
receiver.
No,
And
yeah.
Jared's like a tight end. I'm like, exactly.
Yeah.
in 10 games last year, 41 receptions, 617 yards, only 2 touchdowns, which is surprising for somebody that big. But and nothing in the rushing category. We said it, and I don't think we need to crush this. I mean, the dude's he's too stiff. He's too big to function as a wide receiver in the NFL.
He is. His tape was really inconsistent too, which was really frustrating for me. I called Jared and I was like, I have no idea how to score this guy because as soon as I feel like I have a firm number on one of his categories, I watch a couple more plays and it's different.
Yeah.
Like
There's times he got loose.
there are times
Yeah.
where like his route running was
flashes.
okay.
He sunk his. There's like time like, oh look, he sunk his hips really well there.
And then there's other times where it's like turning a Mack truck. Then there's times where he makes some really good catches. And then he drops like 3 passes in a row. There are times where you see him play fairly physical. And then he gets pushed around.
I saw him get owned by
Like-
a couple defensive backs.
Yeah, especially in the LSU game. He would
Uh-huh.
just get thrown.
like a rag doll.
Yeah, so
and then they were like pushing him while he was on the ground, like just
bully
owning him.
ball.
Stay down, B.
Just totally
He
owning
got
him.
blindsided on that play. I saw it.
there were like 3 or 4 of them. There wasn't just one. There-
I thought he was a pretty physical player.
no.
For at the
sometimes.
wide receiver position.
At times.
Sometimes.
At like the catch point, he was decently physical. But so that was the hardest part about him. Now he got a great catch radius grade from me.
By default.
but
no duh.
Yeah, you got
But
a 9 for that.
yeah, I gave him a 9.5 just because you kind of have to at that point. But
I gave him a 9. Yep.
yeah, well, and I saw one where he like dove low and caught it, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, okay.
I saw that as well.
But overall, his score was actually the second lowest score out of all the scores for me, and it's because he feels like a guy that needs to change positions.
66
He's
for me. 66.9.
He looks
61.
like but plays the opposite role of Devin Funchess, where Devin Funchess played tight end at Michigan and then kind of switched to receiver at the end. Like he played receiver that needs to switch to tight end because like their tape's pretty similar.
I know. I agree.
Like
Just-
tight-hipped,
He
big.
is. He's a Devin Funchess type.
Heavy feet.
I hope he makes the switch. I hope he's announced as a tight end by whoever drafts him because they do get the chance to kind of announce
Where they're
how they see him and what position they see him as. Because then I'll be excited. Otherwise, I probably won't even bother.
he kind of reminded me of like in high school, that team that really needed a wide receiver. So they get the guy in the basketball team to like try out. Like that's kind of what it felt like because everything just felt unnatural at times as
almost gangly.
Yeah,
because
this
he's so
baby
tall.
giraffe.
And
Listen,
yes, baby giraffe because he's so tall. He's 6'6", and he's not 250 pounds. He's 230 pounds. On 6'6", that's
Very lean.
You're really not that big. You kind of look lanky out there.
I thought he showed good hands. I thought
at times.
Yeah, I thought he had the ability to get his hands up late at times. Like I said, I saw flashes of him. It'll sink his hips and turn and actually move some defensive backs. And I was like, man, put this guy in a line. Like I said, put him on an inline, make him a tight end. Like he has a chance to win there.
Yeah.
He needs to add like 25 or 30 pounds though.
So I definitely would take a shot at him as a tight end if he was drafted as a tight end somewhere in like the 5th or so round.
I'll tell you what, regardless if he's going to stick in the NFL, that's likely where he's going. Like, even if he fights it a little bit, and because Darren Waller was a big wide receiver for a couple of years before he finally switched and
embraced being a tight end.
Yeah, embraced being the tight end. So this is one of those guys that I think either way it's going to have to happen if he's going to stick. So maybe he's worth it in the 5th round. You know what I mean? You're in that last round of your draft. go ahead and get this project. It's going to take a few years to develop and come to fruition, but
Taxi squad guy.
yeah, if he hits, it could be huge.
And literally, just historically, guys that are that tall don't find success in the NFL, which is like, you can. I know it's crazy to say, but in the NFL, because you think, oh, like LeBron James. No, like some guys are just too big.
They're just too big
in the game to win.
Yep.
For
There's too much
agile,
to hit.
how fast these other guys are.
Too much for guys to get hands on. Just too much. The leverage isn't there because you can't get low at all if you're 6'6".
So I didn't hate him, but I said I like him as a tight end. I don't like him as a receiver whatsoever. And even a tight end, he's a project. But like, I feel more comfortable with him as a tight end to grow into that role to be at least tight end 14.
Yeah, no doubt.
So he's a back end guy, stash guy. I like. Again, when you're chasing those running backs, quarterbacks, and maybe high end upsides, like that's where he's worth a stash on your roster.
For me, I don't even know that I would, because I don't think he's, most taxi squads are 2 years. I don't think he's going to get it figured out in 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to end up cutting him anyway. So I'll just wait for the 3 or 4 years and hear the rumblings in camp of like, oh, he finally converted and he's looking good. That's when I'll scoop him up.
I'm sure when it's all said and done, after NFL draft plays out, I won't have any shares. They'll probably be off my board because there's only so. I mean, you got to imagine
there's only so many dart throws.
In a 5-round draft. You have a spot for 60 guys. So if Johnny Wilson makes my top 60, it's at the very back end.
This is a particularly deep draft at wide receiver as well.
Yeah, and it's gonna be guy. And honestly, but same thing. Like if I had to take a chance on Johnny Wilson or Tahj Washington, like I'm taking Johnny Wilson. So like, and if we go off of last week's like Flory and a lot like Whittington, like those guys, like I'm taking Johnny Wilson. So by default, he might end up in the back end of my draft. That's what I'm saying. He's not off my board. Do I think there's high hope there? No. No guy in the 5th round has high hope, but at least he's not my board.
You have some hope to hang your hat on. Yeah. You know what I mean? Some things to hang your hat on at least.
A couple plays where he sank his hips and I was like,
he does flash.
Yeah.
He does flash. There are plays and moments where I'm like, wow, that was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, who knows when these guys get into these NFL systems and it's their job day in, day out to improve as a football player. I mean, he's got some tools for sure that people don't have. So I'd probably take a shot on him late in a rookie draft. We'll see how the NFL draft plays out though first.
That's where I'm at today.
Yep.
We'll see. We still got 6 more shows to do.
Yep. And tight ends to get into. Maybe there's a tight end that's already a tight end that we like more.
That's why I said 6 shows. I mean, dude, I'm reading a lot more on these tight ends, and they all seem like I'm excited. At least I'm excited now to dive into class. There's a lot of guys I'm reading about, like, oh, I can't wait to watch his tape. There's at least 4 or 5 guys that I'm so
You are
excited about
so
watching.
far ahead of me.
This is just reading, not
I
watching.
still got more receivers.
No tape. The only tape I've watched is Cade Stover because I watched all his career, and like I've said forever, like I think Coach Cade Stover is a pretty solid.
You've probably
outside
seen
tight end.
Bowers by default at this point.
Oh yeah,
too.
ton of Bowers. Yeah, dude, you put the ball in that guy's hands, it's over.
Watching Adonai Mitchell's tape. I mean, not Adonai, but Lad McConkey, and it's just like Bowers.
Been watching Adonai's from 2022.
Yeah, that
Good transfer.
Yeah.
All right, so next up, Malik Washington. Wide receiver, Virginia, 5'8.5", 191 pounds, 9 1/4 inch hands, 30 3/8 inch arms, 72 3/8 inch wingspan. He's 23 years old. He ran a 4.47 in the 40 at a 1.53 10-yard split, 126 inch broad jump, 19 bench press reps, 42.5 inch vertical. Woo! You need every inch of that when you're 5'8.5".
Yeah.
Last year in 12 games, he had 110 receptions, 1,426 yards receiving, 9 touchdowns, 3 rush attempts for 7 yards.
Yeah, just turned 23, January 4th.
Yes.
So even though he's 23.
Newly minted.
Yeah, so I listen, I came away, I actually liked Malik Washington.
I was surprised, yeah.
Yeah, I came away pretty impressed. I mean, this guy obviously had some big games, consistently go over 100 yards out there. And I thought he had really good hands. Some body catches.
I thought he had really good hands too.
He still came down the ball a lot, but I was like, for a guy who has really good hands, I just want to mention, like, I did see some body catches.
I have the exact same note. I said he's got pretty good hands. There are definitely times when he lets the ball into his body.
Yeah. So I was like, okay.
But, I mean, I want to put that as a caveat. If you're able to catch with your hands, that's fantastic. Sometimes a ball is placed in an area where you have no choice.
I'm glad you said that because
it gets into your body, and that's just where you have to catch it.
It didn't feel unnecessarily so when he did it.
And so I wanted to say that and make that kind of caveat, and I do feel like there were times where that happened with him.
Runs a nasty out and up.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, he
over and over.
Yeah, dude.
And
Once
it's
a
so
game.
good every time.
They kill him once a game, dude.
this is, I mean, in the right system, this guy could be a PPR factor, right? Like he has that kind of skill set. I mean, you're talking about somebody who dominated the East-West Shrine Bowl. I thought he did a really good job tracking the ball. I thought he did a good for a guy of his stature. I thought he did a really good job in contested catches.
Yeah, no doubt. And this is the same type of thing we were talking about with Tahj Washington, but I think he's got a lot more suddenness to his routes, and he's 92% lined up in the slot. So this is another slot guy. He's small. He's quick. He bursts in and out. He's going to need volume, and he got it. I mean, 110 catches last year.
Yeah,
that's the kind of volume that you are. 110 receptions. That's the kind of volume that you need.
School records, by the way.
Yeah,
at Virginia, he set yards and reception
for
records.
a guy like this to be a fantasy football factor. Those are the kind of numbers you need.
Yeah, led all college football in receptions with 110. So like, there is like he could be a PPR factor. I mean, this is somebody at the NFL level, even just like at a college level, you want to put the ball in his hands because when you do, he makes plays. So like when he gets in there, kind of like that running back style. There's a couple running backs we're gonna talk about, like receivers. Like kind of in this category,
backs, yeah.
But Malik Washington's one of those guys that fits that mold. You put him in the ball in his hands, he's gonna go out there, he's gonna make something happen. So really good contact balance. You would see consistently the first guy that got a hand on him really rarely brought him down.
He's stocky, 191 pounds, man, for 5'8".
For 5'8.5".
So and now you will say though, like Matt mentioned, he came on the slot a lot. So a lot of his production came off from the slot, which is, if you don't know, like when you come on the slot, you have a much easier release, a much higher chance to catch the football. You're not getting pressed. So for him, a lot of that production came, like obviously he led in college football in reception. So that's kind of a negative on him. His routes were just okay. Like I didn't love him, but he could do it.
Yeah, his routes are okay, but it's the way he moves, I think, is gives me hope for the future. How about that? He needs to improve it, but I think he's got the kind of movement and explosion that will lend himself to being a good route runner.
So I'm glad we're talking about this because this is something that I did want to highlight with him. What I saw when I was watching him, it was one of two things, because in the open field I saw a lot of crisp movement.
Yeah.
But I didn't see as much crisp movement in the routes. They felt a little slow at the stem point, where I didn't think that he always had that same type of suddenness, quick twitch. It almost was like he was overthinking it at times or something. I don't know what it was, but it didn't feel the same as the open field movement when he had the football. And that's kind of the one area that I want to maybe disagree slightly on is I could see what you're saying about the potential there for the routes, but overall I thought his route running was very mediocre. I thought he left a lot to be desired there still.
I think he felt comfortable with a couple routes, like really comfortable, and that was like where they basically used him, and everything else outside that was probably out of his realm of comfort is a better way to say it. For me, at least in my, like, if I'm just theorizing here, like I don't know how he thinks, but like that's what it probably seemed. I mean, he was so schemed, like he knew what he had to do, and anything outside that, like you said, maybe it was just over processing for him about what he's going to do. Because you're right, when he gets the ball in his hands, it's like a different player. So for me,
there's not much thought required in that. It's more
instincts
based once you have the ball in your hands.
He ended up getting a pretty solid score for me, a 73.15.
Nice.
So got a really good score for me. Obviously, couldn't really do much with release because we didn't get to see it. And Jared literally asked me about these. Like, what do you put for guys when we just don't know the release?
Yeah.
It's almost a standard 5.
Okay.
Below average, 6 is average. So they get a standard 5 for me because I don't want to knock them too far, but I don't want to give them any undue credit. So it's almost a standard 5 for me. If I don't see enough, they're going to get a 5 for me on release.
And you don't know because you don't know how, like, he doesn't get pressed very often. So, like, how would he, like, because his size,
I have no clue.
His size would say that he would struggle there, but he's so physical too. Definitely at the
He's
catch
physical
point,
and
like,
he's quick. Like, so
he might do well.
He might be
he
fine.
might do fine.
Yeah, exactly.
So it just kind of goes to a standard 5 for me on that if I don't know or if they're always in the slot, never getting pressed. I really liked him after the catch quite a bit. I gave him much higher marks for quickness than I did speed. Because I think his straight line speed was just okay. There were times that you saw him get tracked down.
I gave burst more.
Okay, that was your highest one.
I think I'm quantifying it differently. We're seeing the same thing, but both of his burst and quickness were higher than his speed. Same thing, because he gets tracked down from behind.
Yep, but he does good in the open field. He does make guys miss. He is twitchy. So I was very pleasantly surprised. And so far, this puts him as my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's my 8th guy in the class at the moment. Now we still have 2 classes to do, and I don't have any of those guys in there.
Yeah.
So he has a chance to be right around the top 10. He'll probably bump just outside of it based on some of the guys I know from next week. But a solid player that I think is intriguing.
There's some guys coming in I know will bump him, but he's right now in my 4th tier.
Okay.
So, like, he's there. Like, I definitely came away after this. I was, God, of all these guys I'm watching, like, I'm pleasantly surprised that I have him in there. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, he's in my 4th tier. So I have him with a guy we're going to talk about here shortly, but I have him currently right after a guy that you guys all love. So he's definitely.
You have those 2 guys together?
No, different tier.
Oh.
He's in a tier behind him. But
okay.
Like, he's currently behind.
I was like, wait a second.
He's currently right behind him. But there's a lot more to go, right? So guys, for me. So Malik Washington out of Virginia, what do you think, Jared?
I'm at 72.6, so I'm like right around where you guys are at. I thought his hands are really solid, really good, actually, not just solid. I thought he was pretty good in contested catch situations, and then when he does get the ball in his hands, he has some of the movement skills that I look for. So I think he could fulfill like a slot role for a team if he does get that opportunity. So he's definitely on my board for sure.
Yeah, he'd be a team that could really, like a Jets could utilize somebody like a Malik Washington, be a good spot for him. I'm really definitely excited to see where he goes because he's definitely going to be able to do something that has to be in the right system, the right scheme, but real attractive because if he is, he's fantasy ball relevant. Like, this is a guy who could be a wide receiver 3, high-end wide receiver 3 in the right system, maybe even low-end wide receiver 2 if he's schemed correctly because he is a playmaker. That's the best way to kind of describe Malik Washington is he's a playmaker.
And for all of these, for all of these, other than obviously Malik Neighbors, but for all of these guys that we expect to potentially be slot guys, so far he is the highest rated,
just strictly
true slot guy.
Best guy I saw.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Next up, Bub Means. Bud.
I think it's Bub, right?
It is Bub.
Bub.
Yeah, Bub.
I just can't read.
That's all right.
It's Bub. Bub Means.
That D's backwards.
My reading is subpar at best.
I'll give you a 5.5.
Pittsburgh wide receiver, 6'1", 200. I don't even earn 5. 6'1", 212 pounds, 10 1/8 inch hands, 33 1/4 inch arms, 79 3/8 inch wingspan. So wow. 23 years old, just turned 23 in January. 4.43 in the 40-yard dash, 1.55 in the 10-yard split. 122-inch broad jump, 19-inch bench press reps, 39.5-inch vertical. Last year in 12 games, 41 receptions, 721 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Nothing in the rushing column.
I remember watching him, and I saw one play, and
Me too.
I was like, man, maybe I might like him. And then I watched all the other plays, and I was like, dang it.
No.
That stinks. Look, with Bub Means,
he's like Brenden Rice light.
Kinda. Yeah, I think he had decent hands. Nothing special though. Kind of subpar in most areas. I'm trying to find. I think there was decent burst and speed. I think there's some decent burst.
He's an athlete. He's for sure an athlete.
He reminds me of Van Jefferson, but not Van Jefferson coming out, but just like Van Jefferson in the NFL. Just like there he is. He's Van Jefferson. He's on the
a really
field.
good route runner.
He'll catch a pass here and there every now and again, and that he's there. He's on the roster.
Dude, capital letters, not loose whatsoever. This is a guy.
This is a guy
who is a 6'1" built athlete. Like
so he looks the part.
Yeah, big, strong, fast, explosive. But he's not a
just none of it translated.
He's not a wide receiver. Like he should have picked a different position to try and play because he's an athlete. But
defensive back,
maybe
perhaps?
safety.
Him, dude. Just Google Bub Means trying to catch balls over his shoulder.
I don't know that you're going to get a lot on Google for that, but
I know.
And you might get something really weird.
I saw a couple of those and I'm like, dude, come on, Bub.
you might. Please don't Google that. Hashtag don't Google that.
Bub Means balls over his shoulder.
Please don't.
Those some mean balls. Come on, Bub. Oh, no, it's a Roman soldier. Oh, Bub. Don't put that in your Christmas card. So, yeah, not off my board.
Put that in your Google search, man.
No, do it. Tell me what comes up.
He's not off your board, or he is?
No, he's off my board. He doesn't get drafted.
Fourth low score for me, 63.78.
I would be very surprised if he was drafted.
Yeah, it's just he's big and fast.
He doesn't offer much. I was trying. I tried to put it in NFL terms, but with the Van Jefferson, he looks good. It seems like it should work, and it just doesn't. It just doesn't work.
I'm trying to think of what I liked about him. I don't really have. It's all just about his.
He doesn't offer much after
genetics.
the catch.
He's got a fun name.
I like his genetics. Yeah,
That
I like his name.
That I butchered.
That you didn't even get right. Because if I could have a Bub, like I'd root for a Bub.
Yeah,
But I don't think I'm going to get to.
and look. I liked him so much I didn't even take time to learn his name. Like, I don't know, man.
I feel so bad. I always feel bad being
I
mean,
know.
but it's what we got to do.
Is what it is. Bub Means, if you draft him, I'm glad you're related. We'll be back next week we'll be back tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Talking a bunch of better wide receivers.
I would argue it might be our best top to bottom crop that we have.
So far, yes. Top to bottom, yes.
Top to bottom.
So I can't wait to get into it. We'll be back tomorrow.
Adios.